Hello, welcome to match 4 against terracubist. In this kingdom, our first kingdom, we have a multitude of options for draw. We have Magpie, Den of Sin, Livery, Golem. If it turns up magpies or something like that, we could thin out with Bounty Hunter Develop. We have actions on plus buy in Hamlet, plus buy in Charm, gain in Charm, lots of gain in Stonemason. So with all this gaining around, particularly with Stonemason, this made me think that this game will end on piles. I expect the Magpie pile to run out. It usually does. The Dens of Sin I expect to run out. Those seem to be very attractive targets. And with Stonemason around, a third pile can quickly empty. So I thought there was a lot of value in becoming thin here because of that potential for this game to end on piles. That is going to influence the way I open. I'm going to open with two cards that let me thin out my deck. One is the Bounty Hunter, the other is the Develop here. Develop on the 3. So the Develop potentially could hit the estates out. Bounty Hunter could exile some coppers, and we can get thin quickly and then proceed from there. Another idea on the opening is Magpie instead of Bounty Hunter. I didn't go for the Magpie because that pile has been fickle in my experience, and also you don't need the Magpies here to draw. You can have draw via Dens of Sin or Livery instead of the Magpie, or in addition to a few Magpies that you might gain. So losing the Magpie split didn't seem that big of a deal to me here looking at the kingdom. Terracubist thinks for some time and they agree with me on the Bounty Hunter open. They do not agree with me on the Develop open. Instead, they develop with a silver. I understand the silver completely. There are many good 5 costs on the board. Charm, Den of Sin, and Livery. You probably want all of them at some point. The order in which to buy it is not immediately clear though. So we have slightly different opens. I will skip ahead until turn 3 here. Alright, so there we have the 2 opens, and here's my turn 3 with the Develop showing up with an estate. Very happy about that. I get to top deck a silver, and I will buy a Hamlet here. That Hamlet is going to be very useful. I do plan to play some number of liveries in my deck, and also it can give plus buy if for some reason I wasn't able to get a charm at some point. So this Hamlet is very important for me. I'm happy I was able to get it on this turn here. Okay, turn 3 for Terracubist. I think they get up to 5 here. They find their Bounty Hunter and they exile an estate. Get up to 5 and they go for a Den of Sin. Again, the 5 here is not clear what 5 you should purchase first. Should it be Charm? Should it be Den of Sin? Should it be Livery? I guess it depends on the kind of ideas you have here. So I opt for Den of Sin first. Why not Livery or Charm? Okay. Not Livery because there's some small chance it collides with the Develop first of all. And also I'm not set up yet to gain multiple horses from one livery. And not Charm yet because I cannot make use of the Charm to gain cards right now. I may be able to gain 2 4s, but I don't think I can gain 2 5s, and that is really where I want to be. I want to gain 2 5s with the Charm. So that leaves the Den of Sin as the other choice. It doesn't collide with the Develop, and I get the benefit of the 2 cards on the next turn straight away. I don't have to rely on shuffles for me to see my Charm or Livery. Alright, so there's Terracubists. Den of Sin, they get up to 6 with that play. Obviously, they knew the shuffle perfectly, and they were able to overpay for a couple magpies with the Stonemason. That's very good for them. I imagine they are happy about that. Alright, so my Den of Sin finds me all my action cards, which is very nice. I like to see that. The only downside of seeing all the action cards here is that I know that the last 5 cards in my deck are not good. I know exactly what they are. They are 4 coppers and an estate. So, in an effort to circumvent that bad hand, 4 is not really a price point you want to hit here. What I am going to do is top deck a Hamlet and a Magpie by developing a silver. Obviously, we exile the estate with the Bounty Hunter to get to another 5. The Magpie and the Hamlet will help me get through that shuffle more easily and will help me to get to 5 on the next turn. I already have 5 here. Didn't need the silver for that right now. And what do you buy here on this $5 hand? I could also make the same play Stonemason for a couple Magpies. I could do that. But I choose something else instead. And this is because I thought a couple turns ahead. I'll explain it now. I buy a charm here. Remember I said before, I didn't buy the charm as my first 5 because I felt like I was not able to set it up to gain 2 5s. Now I feel like I am, because on the next hand, with the top decked Hamlet and Magpie, I will get to 5 almost all the time. Then on that 5, I'll buy a Den of Sin, put it into play, and then have a couple extra cards. Those couple extra cards will probably find the charm, because I am triggering the shuffle here with this Magpie and Hamlet, most likely. It's not guaranteed, but I think that will happen more times than not. So I make the play for charm here instead of Den of Sin. You could go for Den of Sin here as well, just to draw through the bad set of cards here, but I already explained my plan here. So let's see how it works out. Terracubist, their Magpies draw. I don't know if they're happy about that or not. You can't be too upset if they draw, but you also can't be too upset if you gain a Magpie off a Magpie. In the end here, I think they have their Stonemason at this point. We both spent a lot of times on our turn because there are many decisions to make. Honestly, many decisions to make. They go for the Stonemason play and by a Hamlet set a Den of Sin into play. Alright, so I knew the top 2 cards of my deck were 2 coppers. So the Magpie first to draw the 2 coppers guaranteed. Then the Hamlet almost always draw me into enough money for a Den of Sin there. And fortunately it does. It didn't have to. It could have drawn me into a Den of Sin there. Or a develop that would not have let me hit 5. But luckily I hit the 5, I hit the Den of Sin, and we are looking set up to actually use Charm to gain 2 5 costs now. Because now the Charm is in the bottom 2, which we will definitely draw from the Den of Sin. Alright. Terracubist gains another Magpie, 3-1 in their favor on that split. Here comes the Bounty Hunter to exile for big money. Exiles a copper for 3 coin. They take the plus buy from the Hamlet here. So let's see if they do actually make use of that plus buy. I wasn't sure if they would be able to do that, and I don't think they are able to do it here. They trash 1 more card, 1 more copper with the Stonemason, buy another Den of Sin. Right, now here I am at the end of the shuffle. I do not want to trigger the shuffle, so I play these actions as mules to get up to enough money so that I can use my charm to gain 2 5 costs. One of these 5 costs is going to be a Den of Sin. The other is going to be a livery now. I have 2 Hamlets at this point, I believe. So the chance of livery colliding with develop is much less. Also, I have +4 cards coming in from the Den of Sin, and I have a charm as well, which means that this one livery may be able to gain more than 1 horse. So I think now the conditions are set, or the conditions have been met for the livery to be a much better card. That means it gains more than 1 horse. One livery gains more than 1 horse. Alright, so Terracubist finds their Magpies again. Well, 2 of them anyway. There's a third. in their deck. They gain another 4-1 on that split for them. I believe 4-1. Yep. Or is it? Do they have all 5? I'm not entirely sure. No, I have a magpie. I know that. Okay, so 4-1 for them. Here's the Hamlet. They spend a bit of time thinking on this turn here. Let's see what they come up with. Okay, we have to go back. Right, Bounty Hunter, Exile, Stonemason as Mule, and then they get up to 5 for a Den of Sin. Now here, I am looking for the Charm as well. Alright, we find the Charm, very good. I'd like to find the other Den of Sin or the Livery. I don't see it. So there is, I think, a Den of Sin and a Livery in the bottom of the deck here. I could try to look for it with the Hamlet. I could play the Hamlet and maybe find the Livery. Maybe find the other Den of Sin, but I didn't want to risk it. So here, I choose instead to develop and top deck something so that it comes with the Livery instead. So we discard for an action. We top deck a silver, draw into the silver. Right, we draw into the silver. We gave up on finding the Livery there. Whether that's right or not, I'm not sure, but that's what we did. Now, Bounty Hunter is a little bit awkward here. I have to exile the silver if I want to get up to 5. I do want to get up to 5 without using the charm for plus coin. I want to use the charm for gain, and I am able to gain a pair of 5s again here. One definitely is a Den of Sin. The other could be a Livery or it could be another charm. The second charm looks very attractive here, but once the Dens of Sin run out, the targets for charm are not so clear. I can't play that many Liveries. So it would have to be something like charm and duchy. So you want some number of charms to build up, but after that, it's not really clear what you do with the charms. So I could get a second Livery here or a second charm. I think both are reasonable. I go for a second Livery. I do have 2 Hamlets and 3 terminals, so it's an exact fit. Let's see how if the cards organize themselves properly. We stick 3 Dens of Sin into play there. Here's the Livery that was at the bottom of the deck, as well as a Den of Sin like we thought. So that was a fine turn, right? We would have liked to have found the Livery there, but it didn't quite work out, and I decided to just make the safe play for the pair of 5s off the charm. Okay, so terracubist has a turn here where they get up to 5 and they get a charm. They have been falling behind on the gains because of this charm. They didn't have a charm before this, and I was able to use my charm twice now to put myself in a... Well, I feel very confident right now in my position. I am gaining many Dens of Sin. I am losing the Magpie split, but I have the Dens of Sin as compensation. I had the charm. I have a Livery. So I don't think my position... I feel a little better, but not so much better. Okay, terminal collision here, but not really, because you could just play the develop as a Mule. Livery is more important than the develop at this point. No charm, unfortunately. So this Livery isn't going to be that good, but I have money, so it means I could overpay on the Stonemason. Note here that Stonemason cannot gain charm or Den of Sin on the overpay. So funny enough, Stonemason actually gets a little bit weaker because of those 5 cost cards being inaccessible to it. Those are 2 of the best cards in the kingdom, and Stonemason cannot get it. But what I can get is a pair of magpies, and each magpie will come with a horse. I considered Den of Sin there, but I figured the extra horses and the magpies was much better than a single Den of Sin and horse. Alright, so terracubist finishes off the magpies. They have 7 of them. I only have the 3. 1 pile is empty. The Den of Sin is thin, and we have to keep our eyes out for a pile out. I have a Stonemason now, and I really wanted the Stonemason at some point in the game. I got it there. I'm happy. I'm happy about that. We could use that in the end game potentially here. So terracubist draws all the way up to the end of the deck here, thinking about a reshuffle. Triggering the shuffle, sorry. They do. It's not a big shuffle to trigger. So that's perfectly fine for them. They even have magpies in hand, I'm sure. So they go ahead and look what they did. Exiled a Stonemason. When I saw that, I got happy because it means they have less power in the end game. So we're just quietly keeping track of what they have and what they don't have in their deck. They use their charm to gain a den and a livery. So that's their first livery. And with 3, they could consider gaining another hamlet or silver, perhaps. They do gain a silver and take 1 off the exile. Alright, so here come the cards from the Den of Sin for me. I play these magpies first. Not sure if you should play the magpies first there or the hamlets. I play the magpies first. The third one draws. And I don't find they develop, but that's fine. There aren't that many developed targets just yet in my deck. I do find the 2 liveries and the charm, which is much more important. Just need to think about whether or not I should discard for a buy here. I do go for the buy, choose to exile a copper, and I use the charm for plus buy instead of gain here. So now I want to gain 2 more Dens of Sin to finish that pile off. I felt more confident making this play because of how little gain my opponent has. I saw them exile their Stonemason. They do not have a develop. They only have the charm for gain. That's the only other way they could get gain. They could gain another buy from Hamlet. So 3 buys maximum. No Stonemason. There's no way they can empty that Hamlet pile on me with Stonemasons. You need 4 Stonemason buys to empty the Hamlet pile. But they do not have 4 buys. So I was very confident in making this play here. If they still had the Stonemason, I would have had to think a lot more. But I think this is a perfectly reasonable buy from me there, emptying the Dens of Sin. Okay, so here come the 4 of the 7 magpies for terracubist. I'm sure they can draw through their deck at this point with the amount of magpies they have and with the head start from the Den of Sin. So let's see what they come up with here now. 2 piles are empty. They have to be thinking about the end game at this point, especially with Stonemason around. So let's see what play they end up making here. They have just the charm, right? Just the charm and the hamlet for some extra gain potentially. And they would want to gain some number of horses from the livery, of course. So here comes the bounty hunter. Exiles are silver to gain a lot of money. Unfortunately, they do not find their livery. It's at the bottom of the deck, just like mine was. But they do go up to 10 and 2 buys. They gain another livery, a second livery, and they opt to trade away a copper and estate for a couple silvers, increasing their economy for the next turn. Now, this is my starting hand here. I have to see if I could win on this turn. Is it possible for me to win? Well, I think so. I just have to figure it out, right? Here, probably the play to make is to lead on the horse. I don't do that. I lead on the magpie. The reason to lead on the horse instead of the magpie is that I have quite a few horses in the deck. Look, there's 6 horses out, 24 horses out of 30. And I have all of them because terracubist didn't gain any horses last turn. So I have a lot of horses. I could draw into the copper, then use the hamlets to discard for actions and buys. When the discard pile is populated, the magpies will guarantee draw those treasures. So maybe leading on horse is better here. But we have to try to find a way to end the game. We are behind on points as well. And we need to rectify that, obviously, to end the game with our victory. So I do lead on the magpies to try to draw through as much of the deck as possible. Before I do, I am actually trying to think of ways in which I could empty the hamlets and gain enough points to do so. So I'm counting, okay, I have 2 buys from the hamlets. I have a gain from the develop. I can develop a horse, for example, into a hamlet. That gets 1 out of the pile. So 2 from the hamlet, 1 from the develop, 2 more from the stonemason, that's 5. I could have another gain from the charm, that is 6. But how can I get 7? How can I get 7? Well, oh, I have my default buy as well, so that is 7 gains potentially. So that could finish off the hamlets, but I need the points, right? How do I get the points? Well, let's see how to do it here. And this is a good exercise for you. Look in here. At what point is the win in hand? Because I don't think it's in hand here, but it might be in hand later on. So because this is the final turn of the game, we will go through this very slowly. So I play the magpies first, trying to find treasure. Both of them miss. Then I go off on the horses. Still, I play magpie before horse. None of them draw, right? So that's my fault. I discard for an action here because I definitely need to play some action, whether it be develop or livery or stonemason. Probably stonemason. And now I need to think, can I take the plus buy here and still have enough for the win? See, I'm near the end of the deck. If I still had the magpies in the hand, could easily discard for plus buy and draw back those coppers. So I have to spend a lot of time in the tank here trying to figure out how to win. How to win. You could also consider emptying the stonemason pile as well. So for example, here, and it's probably easier to do it like this. Terracubist pointed this out to me later after the match had finished. I could use stonemason, trash a den of sin to gain 2 more stonemasons, and then pick those up and just trash another den of sin with another stonemason, gain 2 more. Trash another den of sin with another stonemason, gain 2 more. Then there are only 2 stonemasons left, and I have all my money left over. I could overpay once for the stonemason and then buy a duchy. Very easy win. But I didn't see that. I was looking for the win on the hamlets, and there is a win on the hamlets here. Is much more complicated, many more steps, but there is one on the hamlets as well. So it does involve some of what I spoke about just now. So here I do calculate, all right, I think I could get away with discarding the copper for the plus buy and still piling out. All right, so that's one hamlet played and resolved. So what's next now? I think what's next is a horse. Yep, there's the horse. So there's a copper on top of the deck. We draw into the last den of sin. And from this position, I was able to calculate a win that empties the hamlets and buys a duchy. So it looked like I only counted out 7 buys before, but there are, I do have more gains than that. So here is how I did it. I gained 1 hamlet by developing a horse. I gained another bounty hunter just for some extra money. Discarded a den of sin and a copper for the plus buy. Exile den of sin for money. Exile livery for more money. Stonemason the den of sin to gain 2 more hamlets. Livery in play. Livery is not for the horses, for the money here. Now I can stonemason overpay twice for hamlets and still have enough money left over for a duchy or a couple of estates. That is game 1. I was very happy to find a stonemason ending. It has been a very long time since I've been able to do that. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.